Hey everybody, welcome to the Coffeehouse Conversations podcast, and I'm your host Amos St. John. If this is your first time, welcome, man. If this is more than your first time, if this is your second time or third time, you've been through all the episodes, thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. Now, if you haven't checked out any of the episodes, feel free to go back and check it out. Let me know what you think. Specifically, the last episode, I had a conversation with my wife, and it was a second conversation, and it was about the art of war and compromise. And we talked about some of these tough experiences we went through in our marriage thus far, just decisions and different situations we've gone through, and how the steps that we took in our foundation, how much it benefited our walk in our journey thus far in 9 years of marriage. And so go back and check it out if you haven't already, and just let us know what you think. Subscribe, rate us, leave a comment. Let us know what you think out there in the internet. Anyways, today I really want to take a moment and be transparent and talk about rejection. It's been weighing heavy on my heart, and this month being Mental Health Awareness Month, I felt like it was real apropos to share this experience, and hopefully it'll be a benefit in my transparency, a benefit to someone else, and let them know that, you're not alone in dealing with rejection and or trauma. And I'll share some of the experience or some of the things that I did that has helped me throughout my journey, and I am in a much better place. Now, I'm human, so I'm subject to moments of reverting back, but I am in a much healthier place, and I'm able to just snap out of it really quicker than I've been able to do in times past. So I really want to share my experiences. It's kind of like a car maintenance, like you can't just change the oil one time and think that you can survive, the car can survive its life, just off of one maintenance. You got to constantly change the maintenance when the car indicates. Now a lot these days, a lot of these cars, they have indications that, hey, it's time to pay attention to what's going on in the engine. Same thing with the human body. Like, there are sometimes indications let you know, like, yo, something's not right. Take time to address this in order to go for the long haul. And so I've shared earlier in a few podcasts ago that rejection is a tender subject for me. But I can say ever since we moved from Maryland to Dallas, I've had a lot of time and space to confront these issues that has resulted from rejections and traumas. And one experience that I mentioned was that I was overcoming, this huge hump in my life a few years ago, where I was, unexpectedly terminated from a job, and having to deal with that basically was a very tough situation for me. It was just a culmination of all these experiences, and that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I realized that I had to address some deeper things. And so I never thought I had to confront these or even question myself about dealing with depression. But I reached, a breaking point in my life and realized that something wasn't right, and it had to change. And so for so long, I thought that depression was far-fetched for me. Like, that's not, I don't deal with that. You know what I mean? But I was sadly mistaken. And I had to deal with it, So I want to talk about 3 things that I had to do to get on the road to a healthier lifestyle from a mind, body, and a soul perspective. And so the first thing I did, I reflected. I was looking at myself in the mirror, and it can get a little tricky sometimes looking yourself in the mirror, especially after a rejection. You can find yourself slipping up and starting to beat yourself down and blame yourself for stuff, and start questioning your worth and your value. And that's a very dangerous thing to do. But the reality is And I learned that you're great. You are good. Like, trust me, nothing's wrong with you. And I think the rejection or the trauma really kind of causes you to temporarily alter your thinking of yourself, And so I really worked hard at shifting from a pessimistic mindset into more optimism, you know what I mean? Very optimistic thoughts. And it allowed me to reflect from a different, more positive perspective. And so you have to take time to really make sure that you value yourself and you recognize your self-worth, I mentioned in that Unbalanced Humility podcast a couple of episodes ago, I talked about, that struggle with recognizing my value and my self-worth. And, through that reflection period, I realized that it was time to seek a neutral and a unbiased perspective in dealing with the effects of rejection and traumas. And so I decided to get a therapist. Initially I thought it was a bad thing or a weird thing, but honestly, that was one of the most important decisions in my life, in my adult life, to get a therapist. It's nothing wrong with it. Go get one. You need someone who will give you unbiased, professional counsel and how to manage to deal with the disappointments, the rejections, the dejections, the trauma, all that, the issues, the anxieties, all that. You need to seek a therapist and to help you address those issues. And I'm so glad I did, because after a while, after a few sessions, I realized I wasn't as bad as I thought I was, because I really thought I was in bad shape. And I think if you allow yourself to kind of to sink into that depression, you will think so low of yourself. You will think so crazy that you would think you're just, but once you realize, get a healthy perspective, you realize you're not as bad off as you think you are. And so I was so glad that I was able to make that shift and start looking at it from a different mindset. And so I realized that with that healthier mindset, I can navigate through and reverse that negative effects of what I went through rejections and the traumas. And so it brings me to my next point. I said the first point was I reflected. So it's good to reflect. All right. The second thing, I took a moment to release it. So first thing was reflect. Second thing, I say release it. Let it go. You know what I mean? All that negative energy, all of those negative thoughts. It's hard to do it, but the more you take that step, the easier it gets. So I released it. And I realized that it helped change the way I thought, and it really helped the way change I perceived myself. It wasn't an overnight process. It took time. And so I still struggle with it. But the difference is that I no longer try to hide it or sweep it under the rug. I deal with it. I confront it. And, because honestly, rejection really sucks. Trauma sucks. Anxiety sucks. It's really not the fun. It's not happy. It's not great. So I do know that it's tough to do it, but you shouldn't allow that to hinder you from living your best life and your most healthy life. So the 2 steps that I did so far was I reflected, I then released it, you know what I mean? And I tell you, it really helped me and encouraged me to move forward in life. There's an article I was reading on Psychology Today, and it says 5 ways to shake off the pain of rejection. And in the article, it says rejection is going to happen. It's a fact of life that not all relationships or situations will work out well. With distance, we can often see that a rejection was a good thing for us, but at the time, it doesn't feel good. Developing more effective responses to rejection is an important life skill. If you find yourself unable to deal with rejection, you may need to work on building your self-confidence and your self-esteem and strengthening your social ties before addressing the anxiety, anger, and other issues that arise from being rejected. Then later in that article, it listed 5 ways to shake it off. The first was self-confidence is key. The second was change to positive self-talk. Third, it says, remember, this too shall pass. And the fourth thing, it says, practice reframing. And it's specifically, and to break that down about reframing, it says, take a deep breath, step back from the situation, and just breathe for a few minutes. Many times a situation seems worse than, because you're reacting and then you frame it as a negative thing about you. Instead, physically step back and begin deep breathing. Choose to reframe it. And that was the fourth thing. 5, it says, let it go. So I'm going to say there's 5 ways to shake off a rejection. First was self-confidence is key. Second was change to positive self-talk. 3 was remember, this too shall pass. 4, practice reframing. 5, let it go. You got to release it. I tell you, the whole releasing part is a hard thing, but it's so necessary in your healing process. Just let it go. And then, so my final point, I mentioned that I took time to reflect. When I reflected, I realized that I needed to see a therapist. You know what I mean? And so with that therapist process, I went through about 6 months of therapy, and I realized that, I got a lot to look forward to in life. This one situation, the article says, this too shall pass. So I released it. I released all that negative energy, all that thing that was holding me down. I just released it. It wasn't an overnight process, but I went ahead and just started letting it go. And every so often, something will pull me back, but I was like, no, I'm much better than I thought I was. And then the final thing, I just reset. Basically, after you reflect, after you release, you reset. And I'm telling you, you basically start with a clean slate of your thinking, your movement, your way of life. Just start with a clean slate. You can move forward with a stronger sense of self-value and self-worth, and much more fortitude in your planning, in your dreams. Whatever you decide to do, you can move forward once you reset. And so as I close, I just want to make sure that in this month that we address those uncomfortable experiences. It's not easy. Mine, may not have been as severe as some others, but I do hope that you can take time to reflect on it. And then through your reflection, you can see maybe I need to seek, professional counsel and get some help, or maybe you're able to overcome it yourself, but you have to take time and reflect to see that, I need to address this. And then you release it. After you realize that you need to address it and you address it, release it. And then after that, press the reset button and move forward stronger, better, and wiser than you ever have been. I guarantee that, even though life comes with these moments, we can't avoid it. I guarantee that once you overcome a few mountains, you learn to build a stronger resistance and learning how to deal with that type of pressure. And when it's going to keep coming, but you're going to be wiser and stronger to overcome it. So again, thank you so much for listening. I guarantee that, we're going to be better, and don't be afraid to address it. Don't be afraid to look for help, professional help. And you're not the only one going through this. We all go through this. And I'm so thankful that I addressed it. I realized that my depression was not as severe as I thought it was. Sometimes when they say your mind is playing tricks on you, it does play tricks on you. Sometimes through the trauma or the rejection, make you look at the problem a little and make it bigger than what it seems. But you need unbiased and a healthy perspective to help you and counsel you through your drama, your trauma, and your rejection that you're going through. So I guarantee that you're going to come out better, and you're just going to be such a better person for yourself and your family and for your friends. Again, I really know that this was a very transparent moment for me, but I really hope that it helps somebody in moving forward and dealing with your rejections and or trauma in your life. And like I said, it's not an overnight process, And I guarantee that once you take that first step and be honest and transparent in reflecting, releasing, and resetting, I guarantee that you're going to end up living your best life. You got so much more to look forward to. And everything, just leave the past behind you and know that, you know what, I got great things coming ahead. So, thank you so much for listening. There's more coming. I am so thankful for your support. Please subscribe, share this with somebody that may need to hear this. And again, thank you so much for listening to the Coffeehouse Conversations podcast. And until next time, thank you.